Hey everyone, it's Chris. Just a quick editor's note before the regular podcast starts. Throughout this episode, at times I use the incorrect pronouns for my guest, Veras Connolly. Their preferred pronouns are they, their, them, and at times I slip up and use he, his, him. I've known Veras for a long time and I consider them a friend, and I just want to apologize and own up to my mistake. Thanks, and hope you enjoy the episode. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Movies That Matter. I'm your host, Chris Flaherty. Thanks for joining us again. And today we are journeying into the Spiderverse with Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. And my guest today is Veras Connolly. Veras, how are you, my friend?
I am doing all right today. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad we could finally get you on the show. I remember talking to you about this when I was just thinking about doing it.
Mm-hmm. And Happy to be here.
Yeah, you and James just kind of instantly raised your hands yeah, we'll do it.
Yes, please.
So, you made it before James, but James is probably coming up next.
Yeah.
Anyway, Veras
yes.
is a candidate for a bachelor's in animation with a minor in digital media and a content creator that runs his VeraVision and BioPrism entertainment companies, which you can find on YouTube. And he is a fanatic for all things animated and stylized, which is kind of perfect while we're talking about Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse.
Yep.
And he's also been a long-time volunteer here at BCAT, Burlington High graduate of 2019, and
yep,
he's been, he's been around for a while.
I've been around the block for BCAT for a very long time. Been doing this for a while.
That's what we love. We love to see it.
Of course.
All right. So Veras,
yes.
Let's start out. Let's journey into the Spiderverse.
Yes, please.
In your own words, can you tell me what this film is about?
So, Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse is a movie about Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Funny that. But it is more a movie about growing up. And it's more about adapting to becoming Spider-Man. Because in this movie, we do not follow Peter Parker. Kind of. We more follow the story of Miles Morales as he gets bitten by a radioactive spider and he gains the abilities of Spider-Man. And after having an encounter with a Spider-Man from his own universe and then quickly followed by an encounter from a Spider-Man of another universe, him and Peter B. Parker set out on an adventure with some other Spider-Men and Spider-Women, if you will.
All the Spider-Men.
Exactly. To save the multiverse from Kingpin. Mm-hmm. And it's a very heartwarming and fun story, and I love it a lot.
Now, Spider-Man's been around for a long time. What was your relationship to the character of Spider-Man before this film? Did you grow up reading the comics, watching any of the TV shows, the movies, all the movies?
So I think my first experience with Spider-Man, if I had to pinpoint it, was probably the Sam Raimi films, I think is where I started, which were a very interesting collection of films to watch, especially to go back to nowadays. Yeah. But I think my biggest memory of Spider-Man, at least as a kid, has to be, I believe it was the 90s cartoon. We had a few on DVD, and we would rewatch the episodes on those DVDs over and over and over and over again. And it's actually funny because one of the DVDs that I had was about Spider-Man and the multiverse. It was Too Many Clones.
Okay.
And it was literally the same plot synopsis as Spider-Verse, where the Spider-Man in the universe that we're watching encounters Spider-Man from a bunch of other universes, ranging from one of them being kind of like the reverse, where it's like man spider, where they're kind of more spider than man.
Yeah.
There's one where they're just an actor and they were just kind of brought there by accident.
Yeah.
And it's that one episode actually got me extremely interested in all things multiverse related. So when Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out, I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is what I've been waiting for since I was like 12. So that's kind of my relationship with Spider-Man has always been like he's like my favorite Marvel superhero next to the Fantastic Four, who unfortunately have not gotten a very good rap recently, but that's okay. But
what do you mean?
You know what I mean. And so yeah, I've always loved Spider-Man, and there's actually a quote from Stan Lee that makes me love him even more, where the best thing about Spider-Man is that there is no skin showing, which means that any kid anywhere can picture that they're Spider-Man. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful accident, I believe is as he put it. And that's kind of my relationship to this web slingers. I love him and I follow him wherever he goes.
I like that you brought up that Stan Lee bit. I want to talk about that later.
Yeah.
For longtime Spider-Man fans, I don't think it was much of a shock to find out that there are other Spider-Men out there. And it's interesting to hear you say you grew up watching the Raimi films, because I'm a little older than you.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I remember seeing the Raimi films in theaters with my parents, and then like I was in college when Andrew Garfield came out, and I was a seasoned post-grad when we were introduced to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But it's been a big part of not just our lives, but just the general public's lives. Like Spider-Man, I feel like he is one of the most popular superheroes in film and just regular media. Like I think it's Spider-Man, and then it's like Batman and Superman.
Oh yeah,
or at
absolutely.
Least it used to be Batman and Superman.
Right, yeah. I feel like they're all kind of still in that top three. They just kind of change places whenever a new movie comes out.
So speaking of new movie, well, it's not new, but it's the movie that we're talking about.
Sure.
Right? How did you first learn about this film, Into the Spider-Verse?
I think I was in like I'm trying to remember exactly. I believe I saw it as a trailer when I was seeing another movie. And I just from like I think that the trailer starts off with how the movie starts off with like all the logos being like super like they're like janky and stylized and they're all switching, and I'm like this looks cool as heck. What is this? Like, well, this looks really awesome. And then I hear all right, we all know how this goes, and it's a Spider-Man film. And like the moment I saw the style of the film, I was like, I need to see this. Like day one, I was hooked immediately. I'm a huge fan of like animation and style, and like writing is a big part of that too. And so when like that opening line of that trailer and the opening scene, I was like, nope, I got to go see it right now. So good.
And the first time you saw this film, or do you remember the first time you saw this film?
Yes. I think I went to an AMC, and I went with my brother and and two buddies of mine. And all I remember is we were excited, and we were like, oh, this is going to be really cool. And we went in, we sat down, we were silent through the whole movie, like in a good way. Like we were enthralled. We didn't make any comments. We were just encapsulated. And then when the credits started rolling, we looked at each other and we were like, oh my God. Like I remember sitting in those seats while the credits were rolling as like the theme started playing. And I remember just looking at my friend and we were like, holy crap. Actually, he was on an earlier episode. It was with Flynn Reardon. Yeah.
Who you can wow, can't talk.
You can hear
listen
him.
To. Yeah, you can hear him in the episode about Gremlins, streaming now.
Go check it out. Do it.
It's all connected.
Yes.
But yeah, so you saw it with Flynn. And
yes.
Yeah.
It was with Flynn and his younger brother and my older brother. And it was just, I remember that being a movie that I will never forget, and it was such an incredible experience.
What stuck out with you in that first viewing?
I would say this is kind of something with Spider-Man 2 in general that I have, is that I have a very particular style that I like with Spider-Man. I mean, everyone does, but it's like my favorite style that he's drawn in is the style that's used in Spider-Verse. That kind of like angular kind of like style.
Yeah.
And the motif of with like all the spray paint and like all like the glitchy effects and like all the really nice colors. Now everything pops, and it's like a mix of animation and comic book, and the fact that they cut the frames in half to make it feel like that more.
Yeah, it's like jittery.
Exactly, yeah. To me, that was incredible. I loved seeing that, and that's what really stuck out to me was like the style of it, and it just was how rich it was in color, and then immediately following that, the writing is so funny. It's so clever, and it's written exactly in a way that I love to write my own stuff, where it's like it's meta in the sense that they don't treat old fans and like they don't hold your hand as much. They're like, we're going to give you the basics, but as soon as we do that, we're jumping right in. And I love that, because I know a lot of these Spider-Man movies like to be like, oh, well, this is how he got his powers, and this is this, and this is this. And I'm like, no, I just want to see Spider-Man.
All right, people, let's do this one last time.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that. Also, the one thing that stuck out to this movie for me is that when I was a kid, I loved Peter Parker. I'm actually more of a fan of Miles now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this film actually turned me into more of a Miles Spider-Man fan, because in my opinion, he's a little bit more relatable. Because like Peter Parker's like this, like he's a genius, and he's like he's very smart, and like he's always got like a moral compass that's like always pointing in the right direction, and he quips, and he's always clever and stuff like that. But I fell in love with Miles' character because he is almost the opposite, in the sense of that just like he's smart, but like he doesn't always know what he's doing. He's always kind of judging his own character and morality on a lot of different things. And like he's a little like rough around the edges, and I love that. I love that he's like a more relatable Spider-Man. And they keep that theme going throughout like the movie and the game, and it's just I love Miles more, because to me he feels more relatable as a person in general, and that's why.
It's interesting how you bring up the comparison between Miles and Peter, because that's a lot of what's on center stage really through a lot of the movie. Yeah. Because we don't really meet Miles's universe's Peter Parker, but we get the sense that he's done this a long time. Yeah. He's seasoned. He knows what he's doing. Yep. And then we meet Peter B. Parker. Yep. And it's a stark contrast to, I think, what a lot of people expect Peter Parker to be. Yep. He's been beat down a lot by life. Yep. He doesn't have that, like, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. He even says that, like, don't say that line. I'm sick of it. He's cynical, and he's kind of like tired of it all. And I love that they went that route, because it produces a very fun and interesting dynamic where, like, in the video game, like the PS4 and 5 games that are coming out recently, you have this like, all right, Miles, I'm going to teach you the ropes. And he's like, he knows what he's doing, and he's like, he can teach Miles. He's like very good at what he does. But in Spider-Verse, it's so funny to see this thing of just like, oh, can you give me any tips? He's like, yeah, make sure to powder the suit. Yep. Make sure to get it in all the edges. And he goes, okay, anything else? He goes, no, that's everything. And I'm like, this movie is the best. Like, I love it. You got to love a good, eager new mentee and seasoned mentor who is just kind of like going through the motions dynamic. Yeah. Which I think it fits perfectly for Peter and Miles. We don't see it all the time. Yeah. With Spider-Man. I'm going to make a bad pun here, but it really showed new dimensions of Spider-Man in this film, because we see different versions of Peter Parker, and then we also see, you know, Spider-Man Noir, we see Spider-Gwen, we see Spider-Ham. Yeah. And they all have very unique and Penny Parker. Yeah. I don't remember her like Spider. It's like Spider
3,000 or something.
Yeah,
It's like a number.
I almost sent Spider-Man 2099, but that's not.
No,
her.
that's different. Yeah,
that's credit scene.
Yes,
but they all sort of have that Spider-Man motif, you know?
Yeah,
yeah.
They all have that like, oh, we're responsible, and like this is what it is, and this, and Miles and Peter B are just kind of like, what? Like, it's I love it.
Yeah. Are there any lines or quotes that really stick out in your memory now that you've seen the film a few times?
So some quotes that I really like. There are like 3 ones that really stick out in my mind. One of them is "We are all Spider-Man." I love that quote because it plays into that anybody can be Spider-Man thing that I kind of talked about earlier with Stan Lee. It's a very empowering quote that gets immediately undermined by somebody in the crowd who's like, I don't think it means you specifically. I think it's just it's a metaphor. And I think it's the funniest thing. Though. It's such a good line. Like, I think it's hilarious. I'm not saying like the crowd guy saying that makes the quote less powerful. I'm just saying that I think it's hilarious that whenever something incredibly powerful is said, it's immediately like joked about. And I love that. I think that that's funny because the film doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah. But
it's just that quote where it's like, we are all Spider-Man, and we're all counting on you is something that it's something that's like whenever I was a kid, like I always had those like imaginations of like being a superhero and like doing big things and always wanting to be like this great hero type like when I was a kid. And to see Miles, who makes mistakes, doesn't know what he's doing, but still manages to do the right thing, and hearing statements like "We are all Spider-Man" and seeing Miles go through this feels way more relatable.
Yeah,
as somebody of my age,
it's the driving point of the film, really.
Yeah.
Like as you said, like Mary Jane says, like because all in our own way, we are Spider-Man, and then I think the guy that says like pretty sure that's a metaphor, and like, it's not you specifically. That is sort of like that's almost like a vessel for us because we don't fully understand what that means until we've reached the end of the movie.
Right.
And Miles doesn't understand that till the very end of the movie because he thinks like being Spider-Man, he's like, when do I know I'm Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And you sort of have to realize that like, no, you already are.
Yeah.
And that like what he says, like it's all it is. It's a leap of faith, Miles.
That's actually the second quote I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
That was the next one I wanted to say was that it's a leap of faith. Like you won't know it's a leap of faith. I love that line even more now coming out of the pandemic than I did before.
Yeah.
Because I had some personal experiences. I won't get too into it, but I had a lot of trouble during as everyone did, but I had my own struggles during the pandemic. And when it's like, because during the pandemic, I was always like, when am I going to get better? When are things going to change? And when. And watching that movie and hearing like, when will I be ready? And then it's like, you won't know. It's just a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Truly inspires me. And it was one of those driving forces of like, you're right. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
It's just a leap of faith. You just have to do it and just get it over with because if you never do it, it doesn't start. And that kickstarted my life in kind of a new direction during quarantine, and it helped me kind of get out of my rut. And so that quote means a lot to me in the sense that it's like I can personally relate to that a lot. And then the third quote that I just like is it's silly, but it's just like, you got a problem with cartoons?
Oh, we got to talk about that later.
Yes.
It's a bigger issue I have right now with
absolutely.
animation in general. But
me too.
This
so
is
I'm glad we're talking about it.
It's an empowering film.
Yes.
I think for you, and I think for a lot of people. I think it's a comfort film. Too.
Oh, absolutely.
For you, I think too.
Yes, definitely.
Do you? I'm sure it's a film you revisit quite a bit. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah.
Do you remember like any specific like repeat viewings? Do any of them stick out in your mind? Like, did you watch it for the first time with someone else and that sort of like changed it? Or you said in the pandemic you revisited it too. Like,
yeah. So when I mostly what I do is if I'm having like an off day, an off week, and I just need something to watch, or like it's busy and I need something to put on the background, or if I'm just like oh god, I just need to settle down and watch something to feel better, I will usually default to Spiderverse. A lot of my memories are of laying down in my bed and watching it on my phone, either at my house or in my dorm. It's one of those films that I find a lot of comfort in because there's a lot that I love about it, and there's a lot of inspiration behind it. And I watch it a lot by myself because it's one of those films that the impact of it hits the hardest when I'm by myself. Yeah. Because it almost feels like it's talking to me personally. It's not like it is, but it's just like it feels that way, and it makes me feel better to almost have the movie directly talk to me in private when I need it, and it helps a lot.
Well, the film it is talking to you. It's
true.
It's talking to the audience because, I mean, even Stanley, I think his name is Stanley in the film that's selling the costumes. Yeah, he looks right down the barrel of the camera, and he says like, "It always fits eventually."
Yeah, I like that quote too.
Wink, and then no returns.
Yeah. But again, that powerful quote followed by the gag, I love it.
But the narration is always talking to us. Like no matter how many times I get hit, I keep getting back up, and then even at the end, Miles says like, "Anyone can wear the mask. Yeah. You can wear the mask, and if you didn't know that before, I hope you do now." Yeah. So it's
all of those quotes.
It's a pep talk.
Yeah, literally, that's what it is. I'm glad you brought up those quotes because the mask one too, where it's like anyone can wear the mask, is another powerful one for me. And I know a lot of people have this problem too, where it's like imposter syndrome. Yeah, and like a lot of these issues of like, oh my god, like can I actually do this? And like, am I really up to the task? And it's like, yeah, anyone can wear the mask. The age that I started realizing that, nobody is more knowledgeable or powerful over anybody else than you are. We're all just human. Yeah. The age that I started realizing that, I was like, wow, yeah, I can do anything. And it's so powerful to like hear that and to think about it. And that movie is full of so many great quotes.
And then the Stan Lee quote at the end. I wish I had written it down, but it's like, it's the person that simply decides to help others because they feel the need, they want to, or it's the right thing to do, that makes the person a superhero. Right. And I think that's sort of like the epiphany moment at the end of it. You're like, that's what this was all about. Yeah. Like anyone can be a superhero, Spider-Man or not.
Yeah, it's true.
And you see that a lot in a lot of Marvel superheroes too, I think. Like even Captain America. Well, you know me.
Yeah, I do.
But I mean, he's another hero who decides like, I need to do this because it's the right thing to do.
It's true.
So I mean, yeah, it's an incredibly powerful film that I think a lot of people need to watch. Yeah, superhero fan or not, I think it's a pep talk. It's empowering. It's comfort, and it's just it's a beautiful film.
It really is. It's beautifully animated and composed, and the composition of it too, like the music and the composition of each shot are all very well done. I love the mix of like heroic orchestra with hip hop with electronic. Right. It's like such a great combination, especially for like this movie, and it fits so well, and I love it.
I love What's Up Danger.
It's a good song.
It's part of my workout mix.
Yeah.
Like I'm running on the treadmill. That gets me going.
Yeah. I like Settling Down with Sunflower. I know a lot of people love that one.
I love that song. So good. Not Scared of the Dark. Like I'll play that when I'm,
Yep.
I'm just feeling the emotions.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful song.
I really wish that they saved the What's Up Danger sequence for the film and they didn't put it in the trailers. I mean, I understand it's the money shot and stuff.
Sure.
But Give me chills.
It does. It that whole scene is like, you almost can feel what Miles is feeling.
Yeah.
It's so beautifully done.
I saw this film 3 times in theaters, and I really wish I saw it in IMAX.
Oh, God. That would have been amazing to see that in IMAX.
Yeah. Where are we? So we know this film, obviously it changed your relationship with Spider-Man because you became more of a Miles fan than Peter.
Yeah.
Do you think, I feel like we've touched on this a little bit, do you think this film has like sort of informed who you are or changed who you are at all in any way?
I would say with every film that so I'll try to put this in weird terms, but I'll call it a bag, a metaphorical bag of movies, TV shows, games, whatever. And if a movie can sing to me, I guess, in a certain way, I put it in the bag.
Okay.
It's a very, very hard bag to get into. But if you get into the bag, you will change my life. Spider-Verse was one of those movies that made it into the bag. It shows me... I know I talked about this already, but it confronted a lot in me about feelings of like inadequacy, or like it's a more of like it's a film that shows me that this random kid from Brooklyn just became Spider-Man. And yeah, they make mistakes. Yeah, they're a little rough around the edges when they're saving the world, but that's okay, because if your heart's in the right place, then that is what truly matters, and that's what's truly important. And just the animation spoke to me in such a beautiful way, tied with the writing and the characters, that it has informed my projects and how I want to write my projects, or how I want my projects to look. And like the messages that I want to drive home with my projects, where it's a very heartfelt and heartwarming journey with plenty of comedy and action and morals to learn along the way. And it's extremely powerful to me. And I think as a person in my real life, it informed me about just being more confident, taking that leap of faith, and making sure to never lose sight of who I am or why I'm doing it. And I would say that would be how it changed me. It's such an incredible... One of my recent not to get too off on a tangent, but one of my most recent projects that I'm working on, it's called The Multi-Circus. That has I can see the influences from Spider-Verse.
I did want to ask you about this. Does it inform your work at all?
Yes, it does, absolutely. I know I touched on it a little bit, but yeah, it informs my writing a lot. It informs like stylistically a lot of stuff that I do, because there's a lot of really good action shots in it. There's a lot of very good symbolism moments and like symbolic shots in it, and the music that's tied to it, and like how it's all put together, and how it's like how the rhythm of the movie. I would say it had a huge effect on my work, because I watch work and I take it in, and it informs me on things I could improve on, things I could change, and things that I could do. And kind of what I was mentioning earlier with the Multi-Circus project is that's one of my biggest projects going on right now. And I can see the influence from a lot of the things that I watch, and especially Spider-Verse, because the characters are scrappy. Like they have no idea what they're doing. They're really they're trying their best. They're getting from point A to point B, and they're jumping between it's a multiverse movie, funnily enough, actually, or a multiverse project. And they're jumping between these dimensions, and they're figuring things out, and they're lost, and they're really trying to figure out what's going on, and nothing seems to make sense until the end. And the end kind of pulls everything together, and it kind of shows the characters, kind of like, it shows the characters like no one really knows what they're doing. Everybody has issues, and it's just trying your best and doing the things. And I have this little scene at the end of the project where one of the main characters discusses a lot of the issues that their friends are going through. And it's one of those things of like, none of us are perfect, and we all have our little things that we have to battle every day, and some people have it harder than others, and other people are going to be able to do this while other people can't do this, and vice versa. And I think a quote directly from that project is, none of us are perfect, but that's okay, because perfect was just a myth made up by imperfects like us. I would rather
wait, you wrote that?
Yes.
The student has become the master.
And he said, like, I'd rather be weird and myself than be a model in someone else's story or something along those lines. And that one quote, I pray, will resonate with people, because that's something that plagues my existence a lot, is like, I'm not as good as this person, or I am not as efficient as this person. Why does this stress me out? It seems such a simple task, but it's not stressing this person out. And that quote and these movies and these things that influence me push me to remember I'm different. Like, everyone's different. Everyone's going to tolerate different things, and as long as you try your best, then that is all that matters. And if something is too much for you, or if something is making you upset, or kind of like, then it's okay to cut it out. Like, you have to be responsible and take account for your own mental health every once in a while. And like, I'm trying not to overwork myself, because that's another problem I run into, is overworking myself. And it's just something that I want to remind people. It's like, perfect doesn't exist, and overworking yourself and pushing yourself beyond your limits can be a good thing in some circumstances of trying very hard to accomplish a goal, but you don't want to push yourself to exhaustion, because then nothing gets done, and you're tired and you're miserable. So you always want to push yourself in small steps. But if something is extremely uncomfortable to you, you don't push it.
Yeah.
So
I can see where all this came from in Spiderverse.
Yes.
Because, everybody's different. Everybody has their own superpowers. I mean, look at the distinct cast of spider people in this film.
Yep.
And also they do a beautiful job of animating them all differently.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, Spider Pig has got the rubber band, old cartoon thing.
Yep.
Spider-Man Noir has got like the black and white shading.
Yep. Penny's got like that anime aesthetic.
The anime, and they all have different, abilities and stuff. Like, Spider-Ham's a Looney Tune. Spider Noir, he's just punching people.
Pretty much, yeah.
And Penny is very, technical and stuff. Yeah. And everybody is just different and plays to their own strengths. And like you said, no one is perfect. Yeah. Like, one spider person can do something much different than the other. And even in like the visuals, we've talked about the different animation styles, but like, just even look at Miles. Like, he gorilla styles his Spider-Man costume. He takes an old one and he graffitis it.
Yeah,
and even while he's swinging first up, he's in his hoodie and he's in his sneakers, and his sneakers aren't perfectly tied, which might be dangerous for swinging, but that's another thing. Or even like, I love that we show Peter Parker, like, I handled it like a champ. No, he's crying in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm doing ab crunches. I'm getting super strong.
And
he's got a gut.
Yeah.
He's got a gut. And like, he's wearing sweatpants for the first 30 minutes we meet him. He's got his Spider-Man outfit on from the top and then sweatpants from the bottom. I'm like,
barefoot.
That is an accessible Spider-Man to me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about this movie. It's just, it's incredible. And a scene that I love the most about this movie is, I feel like Peter B. Parker understands this. He understands this message intrinsically, because in the scene where they're all in like the garage, like Peter doesn't care what the others think of him. He's like, I'm Spider-Man. I do what I do, and that's the end of it. And he kind of understands the lesson that we're trying to teach here. And like, all the other Spider-Man's like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? and Miles is like freaking out a little bit, and he's like, can you be this and can you be this, and like Peter's like, guys, stop, like
chill out,
it leads to Miles leaving, and like Peter is the only one really fighting for Miles, because he understands this, and I love that this relationship, because it's like, this Peter might wear sweatpants and stink, but he is like the best relatable Spider-Man we've had, who understands these things on such like a personal level. That's like, how do you explain that? And then they try to take the movie to get he tries to get Miles to learn that throughout the movie, and it's so incredible, and I love it so much.
I think we've kind of hit the nail on the head. What do we think allows audiences to connect with Spider-Verse? I think because we are able to see ourselves in Spider-Man now. In any version.
It's true.
Asking this question always brings up a heated debate, but how do you feel this film stands alongside other Spider-Man films?
I'm going to be 100% honest. I might get flack for this, but I think this is probably the greatest Spider-Man movie to ever be made. Personally, that is my opinion. I understand I might get flack for that, and I understand a lot of people might be like, oh, you're only saying that because it's Spider-Verse and it's popular. No, this film is incredibly written. It's incredibly animated. The voice acting is impeccable. It is one of the greatest Spider-Man things I have seen ever in my life. I've seen the Sam Raimi films. I've seen the Amazing Spider-Man films. I've seen the Tom Holland films. I've seen the TV shows. I haven't read the comics. I will say I'm behind on that. But out of everything I've seen out of an accessible, like easily accessible media, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is probably one of the greatest Spider-Man movies I've seen. I think it does a great job at separating itself from the others in being this, like, it's different characters. It has this meta narrative, and it's a very unique story. But I think that it plays into the other Spider-Man films in the sense of like it connects everything obviously on the universe of like it's Spider-Man, but also that like it's
on a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain because like it goes with the other Spider-Man films of like this is a Spider-Man film, but it's on its whole other level of like how it writes itself, how it handles itself, and like showing some of the things that you don't really get to see in those superhero
Definitely
movies.
Definitely not going to see this in a Superman film.
No, you are not. But it's just they're all incredible movies, but like this one just really, really just shows itself like, yeah, I'm Spider-Verse. It's
more down to earth.
Yeah.
It's more human, I think.
Exactly. And that's what
accessible to a wider audience, I think.
Exactly, yeah. And I honestly think Miles has a huge part to play in that, his character, and the way he's written. And with all the messages they try to give, and I think it's really good. But so how does it stand alongside them? I honestly think it's leading the charge, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah,
perfect. I respect and I agree. I think it's on a whole nother level. I mean, I love all the I don't love all the Spider-Man films, but I mean, this one just is in a whole nother category for me.
Oh yeah,
and I can't believe it's taken us this long to put Spider-Man in a big budget animated film, because I just remember first seeing it, the swinging scenes. I'm just like, Spider-Man's perfect for this. Well, I mean, Spider-Man's been in animation before, but like, to this extent, I'm just like, why hasn't this been done before?
I know, it's crazy. Well, because it's like, I am surprised it took us this long. I think it's because, like, we had the shows.
Right.
So we had a lot of those TV shows that were animated, and they were dealing with Spider-Man, and they were okay. There were a few that were better than others, but, like...
Which ones stick out in your memory? I'm curious.
Well, the 90s ones stick out only because I grew up with them. They're not the best. It's fine, and it's fun, but it's like... I don't really watch a lot of the Spider-Man cartoons as much, only because like the movies and especially Spider-Verse just interest me a little bit more. I've tried to look into some of the other Spider-Man ones because I know there's a few coming out right now, and they're all named vastly different things, and I can't keep track of all of them. But I know there's one on like the Disney Channel, that a lot of people like. That I tried watching, and it was a very interesting take on the character because they felt more like a child. Like they felt like a high schooler, which I thought was a very interesting take because in a lot of the films, they treat Peter Parker as if they're this like adult leveled high schooler in terms of intelligence. So it was interesting to see like, no, this is literally just like a high schooler that can tinker with stuff. And when they first became Spider-Man, there was like this guy who was robbing a place. And they ran by him, and Peter went, "Nope, they ain't dealing with that. Sorry, that's not my responsibility." And then that villain kills Ben.
Yeah.
And then
spoiler alert.
It's the first episode.
Oh, I thought we were talking for some reason. Well, I know there's Uncle Ben dies like 1,800 times.
Yes.
But for some reason, I was thinking the first Raimi film.
No. This was the cartoon that I'm talking about. Okay. It's like the first episode where like Peter is just this literally a high schooler, mentality of a high schooler, but he can tinker with stuff. And this guy comes running through. He actually becomes a wrestler. It's the same thing. I know the Raimi films did that too, but he starts off as a wrestler, and a guy's running through, and he goes, "Nope, I ain't dealing with that. I'm here to wrestle. That's my job." And he kind of makes a snarky comment about it.
I missed the part of that where that's my problem.
Yeah. No, literally, I think that's
I mean, back when Spider-Man 3 first came out, I remember the newspaper that we subscribed to in the house, they were reprinting a lot of the first issues, like weekly. Like it went up from the very first time, like he did Spider-Man. And probably till I think when he first met one of the Rogues. It was probably like Sandman or the Vulture or something. But yeah, the first thing, he goes to like a wrestling thing to make money, and then he's just like, nah, man, I'm just here to earn some cash. And then like he hunts down the guy who kills Uncle Ben, and then he's like, oh my God, this is pretty much my fault. So that's when he realizes that, great power comes great responsibility and stuff.
My memory of the first movie is fuzzy. Is that what happens in the first movie? Is the same thing? He goes wrestling, a guy runs by, he says no, and then that guy kills Ben?
It's kind of convoluted. Stick with me here.
Sure. I got you.
I think, Mary Jane lives next door to him.
Okay.
And bear with me.
Uh-huh.
I think he's talking to Mary Jane, and then Flash picks her up for a date in like a cool car.
Okay.
And so he's like, I think in his mind, he's like, I need money to get a cool car.
Uh-huh.
So that's him. That's where he gets to the wrestling thing, because he wants to earn money.
Yeah.
To get a cool car to attract the chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk
typical
about
teenage stuff.
I want to talk about Mary Jane after this, but keep going.
But it's funny you bring up like high school Peter Parker, because a lot of the films rush to get him out of high school.
Yeah.
Like he's graduated, first film, Raimi trilogy. The duology of the amazing films. He's graduated in the second film. And then not until Tom Holland, the MCU, like that whole trilogy, he's in high school.
Yep.
They finally like emphasize the fact, like, no, this is a kid who's got the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Yep.
Not to say that like some of the adult Spider-Man stories don't carry weight, because they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of different facets to the character that make him accessible to a lot of people. But yeah, let's talk about Mary Jane.
Yeah. So I do want to say this too. I think Tom Holland is my favorite live action Spider-Man.
Okay.
I know a lot of people have their ins and outs with each Spider-Man. I like Tom Holland actually because of that reason. It's that same thing of like, he's a child, but the weight of the world is on his shoulders, and he has to make these decisions. And he's like, he's not, and I know a lot of people complain because like he whines a lot. He doesn't quip as much as the other ones. Mm-hmm. I think it's endearing that in my opinion, it's endearing that like he's fighting a bad guy and he tries to joke, and then the bad guy like throws something at him and he goes, "Whoa, oh my God, okay." Yeah. I think that's funny.
The home, I call it the home trilogy, is it's a 3-part origin story.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, and he is this kid who is very enthusiastic
Yes.
to become a superhero. Yes. And as you see throughout the excuse me.
No, it's okay.
As we see throughout the films, he learns that, okay, you know, there's a lot more to it than, you know, quips and punches and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously in No Way Home, he learns that when he makes the big sacrifice at the end.
Yeah, the big decision. But yeah, so what we were saying, Mary Jane, I don't know how people will react to this, but I don't like her character.
Okay.
I don't. I just the only version of her that the only versions of her that I've liked. There's two versions of her that I liked. The one in Spiderverse.
I think that's the one I really like.
Honestly, and I still don't really like her that much, but she at least like makes more of a prominent like role. Is the PS4 game.
Which I have not played, so
that's fine.
Please tell me more.
Yes. So in the PS4 game, they have you, if anyone hasn't played it, this is going to be spoiler territory, you play as her. Okay. And they give her more of an important role.
Do they give her spider powers?
No. That would be funny, but
good.
No. Yeah. But they allow you to play as her, and it kind of helps you connect with her a little bit more. But the problem I have with Mary Jane is, like, she always feels so passive-aggressive towards everything. Even the most forgivable things. She's so, like, passive-aggressive, and she's always just like, yeah, well, whatever. And I'm like, what? You are dating a superhero. And it's okay if you don't want to date him. That's perfectly fine. But, like, this back and forth shit. Sorry if I'm not allowed to swear. I apologize. This back and forth stuff.
4623 is when I have to bleep this for the broadcast.
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
But this back and forth stuff of, like, oh, we like each other. Oh, we don't like each other. But she's so passive aggressive towards him. I'm like, date him or don't. Like, please. Like,
Spider-Man 3 ruined Mary Jane. And at least in that trilogy for me. She's like, oh, what about my problems? I'm like, yo, he's going through it right now.
Yeah. Do you see him? He's in his, like, Linkin Park phase here. You want to help him?
Linkin Park phase. Wow.
I don't mean to offend anybody who listens to Linkin Park. It's just... But it's funny to me because it's like, Mary Jane, you know Peter... He's clearly going through the ringer. Help this man. Like, what are you doing? And, like, I just, like, she has to, I understand that, like, she has to follow her own morals. She has to stand up for herself and her own needs, and that's perfectly fine. I understand that. But she's being so rude about it. And she's being so, like I said, passive-aggressive.
We're still talking about Spider-Man 3, right?
It doesn't matter. Mary Jane is just like this in every iteration. She's so like, okay.
How did we get here?
I mean, you can't talk about Spider-Man without talking about Mary Jane.
That's true.
Like, she's at least more accepting and a little bit more, like, nice in the PS4 games. But I just feel like she's just mean in the movies. I don't know. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like she's just mean.
And it's interesting because she's always been sort of portrayed as the perfect girl, at least in Peter Parker's eyes.
Right.
Yeah, you know, the girl next door.
Yeah.
So,
like, there's a lot of good qualities about her, but, like, man, she's just so mean. Like, I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it. She's just kind of mean.
We are approaching the 1 hour, so I do kind of have to
pivot
us back away from
this.
That's
okay. That's okay.
This film won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
Yep.
I think we both agree that was well deserved.
Absolutely.
We mentioned you got a problem with cartoons.
Yes.
Earlier line, which I would like to segue into how
yes, please.
The Oscars treat animated films.
When I heard what they said.
Okay, so I don't have to repeat it.
I was about to flip. I was like, made for kids, huh?
And for adults to endure.
What do you call Rick and Morty?
Yeah, like,
what do you call BoJack Horseman? What do you call half of the animation industry?
Yeah, there seems to be this thing where, like, I don't know, like, there is this whole, like, category of adult animation in television.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, film, it's just sort of all categorized as cannon fodder for children.
Which is ridiculous.
Especially for this film.
Yeah. There are animated works meant for all ages. And so they have to appease to all ages.
Yeah.
So they might be like, oh, well, they didn't do this or this, so it's not really an adult film. Shut up. Just can it, Hollywood. God.
Yeah.
So it's just I'm upset because they always are just like, oh, well, it's a children's medium, and I'm like, shut up. Like, first of all, if you're an adult and you like to watch cartoons, good. I'm glad you find enjoyment in watching cartoons. Is that cartoon made for kids? Fine. Who cares? You like it. That's what matters. Who cares what anyone else says? It does not matter if you are 43 and you like to watch, like, Steven Universe, for instance. It doesn't matter. It's a good show. It's meant for all ages. If you like watching it, that's what matters. As long as nobody is getting hurt, who cares?
It's not a genre. It's a medium.
There you go.
And it can tell stories just as adult as live action.
Exactly.
Spider-Verse is one of many examples.
Yeah. If you've ever seen a show like Steven Universe, there are very mature themes that adults can learn from in those shows. Even shows that are for mature audiences, there are lessons for everybody to learn in it. But it's just, it's not... I want to get over the stigma that animation is for kids in Hollywood, because I know that, like, the public at large has pretty much completely disgraced Hollywood for saying this already, but I feel like that is something that executives really need to remember, is that it's like this, like exactly what you said, it's a medium. It's not, that's what it is at heart.
Yeah.
It's not meant for a specific age group. It is not a genre. It is a medium.
Yeah.
It's very important to remember.
Case in point, 2 adult men are talking about an animated Spider-Man movie right now.
Exactly.
But, like, I don't know. It feels like, you know, we take these steps forward with the stigma, and then we just, like, take, like, 5 steps back. Like, I don't know how we went from 1991, Beauty and the Beast becoming the first ever animated film to be nominated for Best Picture, which I guess sort of, like, started the long path to the category being made 10 years later. But now it just feels like a token award now, because when you look at some of the films that were nominated over the past years, it's just like,
what are we kind of doing?
Is it the fault of, okay, they're not, like, executives aren't greenlighting more mature animated films, or is it that there's the stereotype has sort of blinded Academy voters as to what animated films could be? I still can't believe that The Boss Baby is an Academy Award nominated film.
I will say, the original movie for Boss Baby is pretty good.
Okay.
And I went to go see it. I watched it. I thought it was pretty well written. It's funny, but Academy Award is going a little too far.
Yeah.
It's a good enough movie. It's good. It's better than I thought it was going to be. But it's still just whatever. Like, it's a funny concept, I guess, but it's like, it's not any funnier than, like, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which I love that movie.
I love that movie. From the same studio.
Yeah.
Sony Pictures. Yeah.
And I love that movie. But it's like kind of the same thing where it's Boss Baby. Like, it wasn't super unique. It was like it was unique, but it's like, it wasn't like, it didn't stand out in any way, really.
Wait, are you comparing Boss Baby to Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs? We have to go, folks.
Yeah. Time to turn the podcast off. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is a fantastic movie. I'm sorry. I don't mean to compare it to Boss Baby, but I'm just saying that, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is a very good movie, and it does stand out on its own, but it's like, I guess it's like, The Boss Baby wasn't a very unique movie.
I know.
Maybe I guess a better comparison would be like Storks or something.
We are rapidly approaching out of time.
Yes.
I knew we were going to crunch it. I almost think we need a part 2. Maybe we can do just a Spider-Man Movies Matter episode.
Yeah.
But just to wrap it all up,
Yeah.
why does Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse matter to you, to wrap all this up and put it on a bow?
To me, Spider-Verse is that perfect example of letting talent have control over a film, where we got really good writers, really good animators, really good storytellers, and just very talented minds put behind this movie. In a lot of movies nowadays, it's always like, oh, it has to fit with the brand, or it has to like this, that, or the other thing. But with Spider-Verse, Sony was like, we might lose Spider-Man's rights in a few years, so just have at it, see what happens. And it's like, this is what we got. And I feel like studios need to put more faith in their creators. They need to censor them less. They need to take more risks. And I understand that sometimes those risks can be to the detriment of the company, Netflix. But
don't get me started on that.
But sometimes those risks pay off, and you need to take those risks to get some really good things like Spider-Verse, because Spider-Verse is an incredible movie with some incredible messages and some incredible talented people put behind it, and it's just an overall amazing film. That is why Spider-Verse matters to me, because it stands for a lot of things on a personal level as well as an industry level.
And that's the T.
Yep.
Veras, this was fabulous. This was amazing.
Some would even say spectacular.
I was gonna say, if you haven't watched the Spectacular Spider-Man series, you should watch that. That's my favorite animated Spider-Man series.
I'll put it on the docket.
2 very brief seasons because it was cut short tragically. But thank you so much for coming on the program.
Of course, happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I know you'll be back.
Yes, I will.
Folks, if you want to check out some of Veras' work through VeraVision and BioPrism Entertainment, you can look them up on YouTube. Instagram, too. Should they look you up on Instagram or any other social media?
If you want to go to Instagram, I am VERAS_CONNOLLY. Veras Connolly. Veras_Connolly on Instagram.
Excellent. And he'll be back for more Spider-Man talk in the near future.
Sure will.
Folks, thank you for listening to Movies That Matter. I've been your host, Chris Flaherty. If you'd like to get in touch with me, maybe some questions or recommendations for the show, or even just movie recommendations, you can reach out to me at moviesthatmatterpod@gmail. You can also find us on Instagram at moviesthatmatterpod, and then on Twitter. But when you type in Movies That Matter, scratch that second T in that, because apparently Movies That Matter was taken. So now, as Tommy Wiseau would say, you got to find Movies That Matter on Twitter. Oh, hi, Veras.
Tommy, when'd you get here?
I don't know. I make that joke at the end of every podcast. Folks, real world is crazy right now. When times are tough, do yourself a favor and escape into something that you love to watch, be it a film or a TV show. Entertainment is subjective, and that's not a bad thing. Once again, this has been Movies That Matter. Veras, thanks again for tuning in. Not for tuning in. Well, you tuned in, but
I'm tuned.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
And to the listening audience, thank you for tuning in. You can wear the mask, and we'll see you soon in the Spider-Verse. Good night.
See you there.